Hello and welcome to the Way of the Taibhsear podcast. This is episode 6 with my special musical guest, Mama Gina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, great. And you're based out of Florida, is that right?
I am. I'm in Tampa, Florida. I grew up here and started playing as a musician when I was 16, went on the road when I was 19, traveled until I was 31 and had my beautiful son, Jesse. And he's 23 now and a strapping young man. And so about 3 years ago, I said, I'm going to go back and play music. And this time I'm going to play the music I love. So that's what I'm doing now. I travel all over the country.
And were you touring in Florida with a band back then and back in the day?
Oh my goodness! I don't even know if I can remember all of that. I toured with several bands, and we traveled around the eastern half of the United States, mostly show bands, the bands that did floor shows and things like that. And then later on, I worked in a 3-piece that we did a lot of dance music and a couple of floor shows, and we even went overseas and played a couple of Department of Defense tours. So I got to travel a little bit overseas and play music too.
How long have you been writing? I guess you would call it pagan music. I hope that's not overstepping.
That's a great way to put it. I've been writing music my whole life, and when I was in 4th grade, I was in Catholic all-girl school. And I started writing songs about the Virgin Mary because I pretty much knew my audience then. And, not that much has actually changed. I'm still writing goddess music. But about 7 years ago, I was at a pagan spirit gathering, and I hadn't played in a few years. I'd kind of lost my voice. I was busy raising my son, and life was just really, really crazy. And we had that week, and I don't know if you've ever been to Pagan Spirit Gathering, but it's a week-long gathering.
Yeah, not yet. It's on the list, but it's on the bucket list.
It should be on everybody's list. It's just one of these weeks where, for me, the work that I do in a week at PSG winds up being the work that sustains me for sometimes a year or two. And in this case, it's really carried on because I wrote my first little pagan piece called Flicker and Flame. It was a firefly song from all the hundreds of fireflies that descended that evening around our campsite. And after that, I felt that was where I needed to focus my energy and my attention if I was going to write. And I write a lot of pagan music, and it's pagan thematically, not necessarily in a particular style. Sometimes people say, oh, your music's not pagan because it's not Celtic, or it's not this, or it's not that. And really, for me and for a lot of other pagan artists that are coming out now, it's not about the musical genre so much as the subject matter, or even just that it comes from the pagan heart, which I got a big one of those. So
yes. And didn't you write the Pagan Spirit Gathering song?
I sure did.
Yeah.
I wrote the PSG song. That was the second year that my son and I went back to Pagan Spirit Gathering. It was held at Camp Zoe, which is in the Ozarks in Missouri. And I met some fabulous people, and that was the year that I looked at my son and before we left Tampa and said, do you think you can fold space and fit my guitar and the drum in the truck? Because I think I'm going to write this weekend. And he did, and PSG song was born, which is a pretty funny little piece.
Sun comes up, my tent gets warm, the birds are screeching, it's dawn. I'll roll out of bed and strap my boots on, make a naked dash for the portage on. I heat up my coffee, then I pour it on nice. It's just one more day in paradise. I sit with a friend that I just met. I remember her heart, but the name I forget. Well, I honor the sky and I honor the stone, and I found a place where I'm not alone. I drift in the creek and I dance round the flame. Tell me, does this place have a name? Oh, hey, oh, hey, spirit gathering. The sun is high and I melt down in this puddle of sweat in this pagan town. Now it's up to my ankles, then it's up to my knees, and the weather collective is chanting breeze, and we all seek shade in the afternoon. Fill our hearts and minds with magic and runes. We eat when we're hungry, we nap when we're tired, so we'll be awake come ritual time. In robes and in nothing, we spiral around, east, north, south, west, central, skyward and ground. We walk with the spirits, we grow with the flow. Tell me, what is this place? I have to know. Oh, hey, oh, hey, we are transformed by the sun. Oh, hey, oh, hey, and when our work is done, oh, hey, oh, hey, we spiral and we sing. Oh, hey, oh, hey, pagan spirit gathering. We tap our drums if we are shy, and if we're brave, we let them cry. Our spirits soar, we share our light and drift to sleep on this rhythmic night. This is a place where we are not alone, have returned each year to welcome home. We are transformed by the sun. Oh, hey, oh, hey, and when our work is done, oh, hey, we spiral and we sing. Oh, hey, oh, hey, pagan spirit gathering. Oh, hey, we are transformed by the sun. Oh, hey, and when our work is done, oh, hey, we spiral and we sing. Oh, hey, pagan spirit gathering. Pagan spirit gathering, I am home. Pagan spirit gathering, welcome home. Pagan spirit gathering.
That alone made me want to go to PSG. That and the Brownie song. Tell me a little about the Brownie song. And that was on the Undertaker's Daughter album.
It sure was. The Brownie song. You know, I tell people all the time that I write true stories, and that was a true story. There are these raccoons in South Florida.
Yeah, I've been mugged by a couple of them.
They meet you at high noon. They don't know anything about being nocturnal. They meet you at high noon on the way to your campsite with a bag of Oreos in their tiny little fingers, and they've washed that bag of Oreos in your ice chest. Anyway, the Brownie song was actually written as a result of several raccoon encounters, and so those elves that were draped in raccoon pelts took over our camp and demanded food and other such sundry items, and the Brownie song was born.
My love, she baked me brownies to celebrate Ferris Wheel Day, and I dug in with much chagrin and ate 5 5 straight away. She baked them by the dozens, so there were plenty more. But ne'er would I have left them if I'd known what was in store. Oh, the elves, they owned the forest, right where we stayed the night. With pointy ears and beady eyes, they planned their brownie heist. The elves, they loved their chocolate chips, our brownies made them weep. Those crafty elves, they waited until we fell asleep. They draped themselves in raccoon pelts, of fur and claw they dared. Crept past our fire and lifted lids on all the Tupperware. They searched our campsite, stem to stern, they found the goods she baked. They feasted and they drank our wine, left nothing in their wake. Well, the sun came up, we stretched our limbs and spied on our ascent. 20 elves in raccoon pelts hung over by our tent. They stayed for beer and pancakes, then they staggered on back home. We promised to bring brownies the next time we would come. Oh, you never know how things will go, so bring enough to spare. Make it sweet and make it light and make enough to share. You never know how things might go when you begin your day. My love, she baked me brownies to celebrate Ferris Wheel Day. My love, she baked me brownies and the elves came out to play. My love, she baked me brownies to celebrate Ferris Wheel Day.
The album, The Undertaker's Daughter, could you tell me, I've been curious, where did the name for that album come from?
I am The Undertaker's Daughter. My dad was a funeral director. I grew up, my youngest formative years were spent in the back of a funeral home because that is where our family lived. And some people say that explains an awful lot about it. But, you know, I grew up learning about death and ritual passages in a very different way than most people. I watched families explode and I watched families come together. And these deep passages just meant so much to me as I was growing up. And I lost my dad in 2005. I didn't lose him. I know exactly where he is. He crossed over in 2005, and about 3 years ago, I was on my way to a festival, and my dad rode with me all the way up to Virginia to go to that festival. And I figured I should pay attention because he doesn't pop in very often at all. We were well loved, and there was not a lot of unfinished business in our family. And when I got to that festival in Virginia, as soon as I could get my campsite up, I pulled my guitar out. I said, "Dad, what do you want to tell me?" And he really flowed through me over that weekend. And The Undertaker's Daughter was written. It's a story of 4 generations in 3 verses, and it's the first time I played it for my son, who is the 4th generation in that song. He cried. I cried.
Yeah. It's a powerful song.
Thank you. And it's still powerful when I play it. It is.
Secrets that we keep, and the stories we have tell, and the tiny holes we leave along the way. We teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the things that we can't say. His father died when he was 3. All the whispers on the grave, they didn't think he'd understand, so they never did explain. The young man looked for answers that he couldn't find at home. made it up as we all do, as he went along. No one ever taught him how to say goodbye, so he made it his last mission to witness as they cried. He held the hands of widows as he walked them to the edge, watched them drop their rings and roses on their loved ones' final beds. The secrets that we keep and the stories we have to tell and the tiny holes we leave along the way would teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the things that we can't say. I'm the undertaker's daughter. I grew up with the dead. I peeked inside their coffins, touched the pillows neath their heads. I still hear my daddy's voice in the silence all around. He said, we're here for the living. Then he left without a sound. And so I looked for answers in every holy book. I made it up as I went along, with all the things that I had learned, and words were not enough. I prayed that my heart would find my song. The secrets that we keep and the stories we have to tell and the tiny holes we leave along the way would teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the things that we can't say. My father and my only son, they gave each other what I lacked. I watched them grow old and young to that final heart attack. No words for the love we shared, and there's so much I will never know. I sat my child down, told him Grandpa had to go. I handed him my father's ring, told him he was now a man. I didn't know how not to break his heart. I hope he'll find the answers the best way that he can, 'cause God knows I don't know where to start. The secrets that we keep and the stories we have to tell and the tiny holes we leave along the way we teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the secrets that we keep and the stories we have to tell and the tiny holes we leave along the way. We teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the secrets that we keep and the stories we have to tell and the tiny holes we leave along the way. We teach our sons and daughters to love as best we can, but we really shape our children with the things that we can't say. Love you, Daddy.
There's another one on the album, Ruby, and about the Morrigan. Was that did you get your inspiration from that whole event there about the festival in Virginia, or could you tell us the story about the Morrigan?
Actually, there was a moment 3 years ago when I decided that I was going to write a song about death goddesses in general. And so I pulled up Kaliman, I pulled up the Morrigan, and I was doing research on some other pantheons to see who else I could pull in. And the Morrigan tapped me on the shoulder with her beak, shiny.
She likes to do that, yes.
And she said, I get my own song. And here's the story. And it was interesting because when I was doing research on the Morrigan, you know, we all know that she loves that she loves that. She's very passionate about warriors and that kind of noble death and the blood and all the stuff that goes with that. But I found this tiny little tidbit that really sealed the deal for me when I was thinking about writing her story. And that was that she doesn't just collect those souls. Sometimes she recycles them. She brings them back into the world when it's really needed. And that third verse in that song was what finally really gelled that whole idea of her bringing this soul to this unborn child that is going to have a very, very difficult life. And this is the way to transcend that.
Yes, by giving the child the soul of a warrior, right?
Right.
Yeah.
She flies over the battlefield, urging them on, taking no side. It's the blood on the laughter breathe, time with her wings. It's the thrill in the warrior's eyes. She's waited and watched him his whole life through. Now she's watching him fall. His blade is still keen and his heart is still true. And Black Crow she calls. Oh, the diamonds and emeralds that lit her nest, so beautiful, shiny and bright. Bits of copper and silver and gold and the rest, they glitter like stars in the night. But the treasure she seeks, oh, it's bloody and dim, and she buries her beak in that dead man's chest. She flies with the stone and promises this warrior's soul will find rest. This warrior's soul will find rest. This warrior's soul will find rest. As a ruby in Morrigan's nest, she flies over the city in search of a soul, breathing her last. The woman bears down and the child within, it's coming too fast. The raven, she watches the blood and the breath, ignoring the child's cries. Black wings retrieving the stone at her breast, and the raven she flies. Oh, the diamonds and emeralds that glitter her nest, she seeks, woe it's bloody and dim, and she buries her feet in that dead woman's chest. She flies with the stone and promises. This mother's soul will find rest. This mother's soul will find rest. The sweet mother's soul will find rest. As a ruby in Morrigan's nest. Each life is sacred, each spirit divine. But the bravest of souls are the Morrigan's tide. Hers for the taking and hers to revive. Are the rubies the raven collects. Are the rubies in Morrigan's nest. Drugs, fear, and pain, and a tangle of limbs. Born of this union of violence and lust, a new life swims. Raven, she watches the cells divide, now 2, and then 4, and then 8. This unborn child needs a warrior's heart to survive its fate. Oh, the diamonds and emeralds that lit her nest, so beautiful, shiny and bright. Bits of copper and silver and gold and the rest, they glitter like stars in the night. All the treasures she bring, oh, it's bloody and bright, and she buries her feet in that unborn chest, drops the ruby deep and promises. Little warrior soul will find rest. Little warrior soul will find rest someday. Little warrior soul will find rest. As a ruby in Morrigan's nest. Each life is sacred, each spirit divine. But the bravest of souls are the Morrigan's tide. Hers for the taking and hers to revive. All the rubies the raven collects. Are the rubies in Morrigan's nest.
I love the whole image of that song with the Morrigan as collecting the rubies and taking them back to her nest. That's just a great metaphor.
I wish I could take credit for it, but she sat on my shoulder and really whispered in my ear and sometimes screamed and gave me that whole story. So, it's funny. I do research sometimes when I'm thinking about writing a particular subject, but I also think that things just come through, and by doing the research and by opening myself up to write on a particular subject, it allows me to be a better vessel because I've done my homework. And when the Morrigan came through, it was very, very obvious that it was her and that this was something that I was supposed to write. So I was very grateful for her guidance, even though it wasn't that gentle.
Another one that I wanted to talk about was Sisters Waiting. That sounds almost like, I guess, if there's such a thing as pagan gospel, I think you have invented it with this song.
Oh, thank you so much. That is another one that I'm really not responsible for writing as much as just sitting and waiting for it to come through. I have a very beautiful world with that contained some truly wonderful spiritual grandmas. And one of them was crossing, and she had cancer for a while, although I can hear her now saying, it's not cancer, it's the fungus. Yeah. She didn't want to ever say the cancer word. She wanted just to let everybody know she had a fungus and she was going to. But she was extraordinarily opinionated, strong, sometimes very difficult, but loved all of us deeply in the community. And one night I'm sitting in my tent in the middle of a rainstorm, which is where I write most of my stuff. Something about that rain just makes you zone in. But I'm sitting in the tent, and I had already actually packed everything because I knew the rainstorm was coming and I was leaving in the morning. So I didn't have guitar, I didn't have drum, I didn't have anything in the tent. And thank goodness for those Olive Garden receipts that are like about 12 to 18 inches long.
Yeah.
Because that was the only piece of paper I had in my purse, along with a pen. And the whole thing came through just in one whole piece. And I quickly wrote it down and sang it over and over to myself that night. The really cool thing about Sisters Waiting, which is about that passage, is that I got to play it for Dina, one of my spiritual grandmas, before she actually crossed. And those moments are so amazing. And it's always scary when you play a song for someone that you've written for them, especially if it's a song about them dying. But it was such a beautiful, beautiful part of my life, and she was amazing. And Sisters Waiting has actually, it's become one of those songs that every Samhain I get requested to do it over and over again.
Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. The veil is thin and the body's tired. Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. The veil is thin and the body's tired. Sisters waiting on the other side. Children, they will come and they will grow. Children, they will come and they will grow. We give them life and then we let them go. Sisters waiting on the other side. Mother holds you while you're in this world. Mother holds you while you're in this world. Her embrace is slipping from her little girl. Sisters waiting on the other side. Grandmother's wisdom's all we need to know. Grandmother's wisdom's all we need to know. As she passes, so we all will go. Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. The veil is thin and the body's tired. Sisters waiting on the other side. The owl, the red-tailed hawk, the butterfly. The owl, the red-tailed hawk, the butterfly. The journey's long and you have wings to try, and sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. Sisters waiting on the other side. The veil is thin and the body's tight. Sisters waiting on the other side. The owl, the red-tailed hawk, the butterfly. The owl, the red-tailed hawk, the butterfly. The journey's long and you have wings to try, and sisters waiting on the other side. 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 Sisters waiting.
Now, usually when I talk about songs, I ask people what their inspiration was for writing this one.
Yeah.
Mama Guy is going through menopause. I'm not sure.
Well, I am a woman of a certain age. I'm 53, and I am now done with menopause. But I will tell you that when I started going through menopause, my son started going through puberty, and it was not pretty. It was not fun. I don't know who thought that was a great idea. But I had kind of that rolling in my head, plus the fact that I really wanted to write something about global warming, but I didn't want to hit people over the head with it. I'm not that girl generally. I'll let other better songwriters do that. For me, sometimes a difficult subject is best approached with a lot of humor, and it's just open the door to people talking about it. And Mama Guy is going through menopause. It's about global warming, although there's a whole lot of subcontext in there.
Yeah, it's another one of those great metaphor songs.
Yeah.
And without going into too much detail there, I'll let the people who've never heard it listen to it and draw their own conclusions.
She's hot and getting high, and a mood is set to swing. We all run for cover, 'cause any little thing will get her hot and bothered and make her bear her claws. Mama Guy is changing, yeah. Mama's rearranging. Mama Guy is going through menopause. You can call it global warming, blame it on the man, cutting down the forests and paving what we can. I'm telling you, get ready, no matter what the cost, 'cause Mama Guy is sweating, and there ain't no forgetting. Mama Guy is going through menopause. I'm going through the change myself, it's my advice to you. You will do what Mama says if you want to live. I had me some night sweats, and I will tell you true. There ain't enough St. John's wort on this whole wide planet, baby, for what she's going through. She's rocking out them solar flares. She's cranking up the storm. She's melting down a bit each day. And hey, it's getting warm. Get ready for the summer that never seems to pause. I say we take our clothes off and violate some laws. 'Cause Mama Guy is heating up. The temperature is crazy.
love the line about the St. John's wort, though. That's
it's absolutely true. There was hardly enough on the planet to get me through it.
Yeah.
and my family as well. So.
Yeah. And I understand you're going to be at Caldera Fest. Is that right?
I am, and I am so excited because I know a lot of the musicians that are going to be there. They're friends, and I'm excited to be able to spend several days hanging out with them. And some of them, I just, boy, I hope I don't. I hope I don't seize up when I see them. People like Dave the Bard, and
yeah. This will be the first time I've met him. So,
oh my God,
he's been on the podcast a couple of times, but we've never actually met face to face.
He's absolutely beautiful. He's a beautiful person. He and Carrie Beck. And I've loved the time that I've spent chatting with him. It's been very short and brief, but he just blows me away. And I will tell you that he's one of my inspirations. When I decided to do this solo pagan acoustic thing, I said, not do I want to be like, because we're all very, very different in our approach, but who do I want to look at for a level of professionalism, a level of songwriting to try to achieve, and a level of live performance to try to achieve. And I'm nowhere near there, but he represents that to me. I just think is one of our most, him and S.J. Tucker, and we have tons of wonderful people, and I don't mean to blow off anybody else, but those two I always kind of hold up as my shining light. And if I'm not quite sure how to approach something, I'll say, what would Dave the Bard do, or what would S.J. do? And I'm excited about Caldera Fest because it's in a beautiful place. It's at Cherokee Farms in Lafayette, Georgia. It's going to be a spectacular weekend. I think the price is great for people.
Yeah, for the number of bands, yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah, I mean, that's practically nothing. And we've got 29 bands booked, and I'm sure that the organizers are still mulling over if they can get a 30th, they will. But I think that the scuttlebutt is that they're going to stop there so that they don't overdo it. I'm excited as heck about Caldera Fest. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's like I remember when they first started talking about it. It was, how big is it going to get? And it's just shaping up to be the pagan Woodstock. It looks like.
I'm ready.
Yeah. But it is very inexpensive. I mean, it works out to $3 a band, plus the camping all weekend. So
I know it's $100 to get you in the door and camp all weekend. And I tell people, just make sure you save up money to buy CDs and support the artists once you're there.
True. Yeah. Definitely.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Are you coming?
Yeah, we're going to be there. I'm looking forward to it, and. You have a new CD coming out. As a matter of fact, I think you were talking just right before the show that you said that it was just dumped on your lap.
Yes, they just got delivered, so I'm getting those pledges fulfilled this week before I leave, hopefully. About a year ago, somebody had asked me to play their hand fasting, and almost behind it in the same breath, they said, "Oh, but you don't really do love songs, do you?" And it was kind of funny because I took that as a challenge.
Yeah.
And I wrote, over the next few months, I really found myself searching back through things that I had written that I had set aside because I thought they were about love, which is kind of funny. And wrote some stuff about love and relationships, not necessarily what people would think, but for me, they're love songs. And I Remember Love is the name of the CD, and it's one of the songs on there. I'm pretty excited about it. Also, my last CD, Solitaire, was very produced. We spent 3 months and a lot of time in the studio. And with this one, I actually had some folks say, would you go back and do that kind of live acoustic feel? And part of me really likes to produce things out as far as you can afford it. But so many people really like that live feel. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to do something that feels like basement tapes. And I went in the studio in 2 days and recorded everything live. We did overdubs on a couple of songs just to add some backing vocals. And that was it. We did it. It was done. And I was kind of happy that I got the opportunity to do that with these songs because I felt like they needed to be stripped down anyway. So I Remember Love is the new CD, and it should be available online in another week or so. And as I'm traveling about the country the next few weeks, I'll have boxes of them. So.
Somewhere between the boy and the girl, between truth and pain, somewhere between confusion and sure that this soul will burn in that flame, somewhere between the heart and the mind and the feeling is something so wrong. The body betrays, no words can say who's been here all along. Somewhere between the woman and man, the world out there and the real deep inside. Living between, it ain't no way to live, but we do what we must to survive. Somewhere between the religion and the spirit divine in your breast, all caught up in that illusion that what everyone else thinks is best. Yesterday's shame, it has shaped me. Tomorrow's a day to come clean. Today will you love me? Please don't judge me, 'cause I'm just learning to love me, and I'm not ready yet to be seen. Let me stay here. Somewhere between who I have been and the person I'm learning to be. Oh, I gotta live this. I don't need your forgiveness, and I make no apology. Oh, yesterday's shame, it has shaped me. Tomorrow's day to come clean. Today when you love me, please don't judge me, 'cause I'm just learning to love me, and I'm not ready yet to be seen. Let me stay here.
I was looking at your schedule. It's like, do you ever sit still?
That's funny. This week was actually a blank week on my calendar, and I kept looking at all that white space and said, But it was also supposed to be a week for me to prep because I'm getting ready to go to Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri, and then come back for Florida Pagan Gathering. The first weekend in November, I will be at Florida Pagan Gathering, but I won't actually be there as a musical guest this time. I was asked by a very dear friend to be in the ritual cast, and my experience with being in ritual cast in big theatric ritual is that you really need to focus the weekend on that. So I'm not appearing as a musical guest this time, although I will be playing music all over the place for anybody who will listen in our downtime. But I'll be at Florida Pagan Gathering with that's kind of home for me. These are my friends and family, and where my son pretty much grew up as a young pagan man. So I'm excited to be back there, and really kind of excited just to enjoy the festival and play music at my leisure instead of having to be on at a particular time.
Yeah, I think those campfire jam sessions, that's where all the real fun is.
So we've got several camps that have grown up over the years, and one of them is Pirate Camp.
Pirate Camp.
The Pirate Camp. And the Pirates are pretty excited this year. They've invited me to one of their evenings of grog and merrymaking. I will not probably partake in the grog, but I will be there to sing. I'm writing some new material for a CD that won't even come out until next year. I was inspired when I got bit on one of my toes by a spider earlier this year and thought I might actually lose the toe. And a character grew out. I have all my toes, yay! But a character grew out of that called Nine Toes the Bard. She's quite a character, and she's been telling me her story. So I'm writing all of these drinking songs and bawdy bardic tales and ghost stories that she sings from stage. And she's kind of turning into a bit of an alter ego, and she will be making an appearance at Pirate Camp.
All right. I was going to ask if this next album was going to be a pirate album.
Well, not a pirate album, but the pirates really like the drinking songs.
Okay. So. One more question I really wanted to get into. You have a very blues-sounding voice. It sounds like you've done a lot of blues. Where did you get that from? Was that just a Florida thing? Or?
No, that is perceptive, and I appreciate that you said that. I tell people I started singing professionally when I was 16, but I found my voice when I was 19, and I had moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I hooked up with some old Stax musicians who were doing studio work, and they pulled me into the studio to do some demos and radio jingles and things like that. So from the time I was about 20, for just around a year when I was 19, 20, in that time frame, I was also the girl on call. It was very unusual for someone of my pale skin color to be in some of the clubs that I was in those days. The old blues musicians that had worked with me in the studio would invite me out to their gigs. I'd come off stage afterwards, and people would say, "Not bad for a white girl." And I figured I was doing okay. I found my voice in Memphis. It spoke to my soul. It still does. And can't quite take the blues out of this girl no matter what I'm singing. Sometimes I try to sweeten things up, but it's hard, man. I'm a blues girl.
So who would be some of your primary influences then?
Oh man, so many. Not a vocal influence, but someone who touched me very deeply in concert. When I was living in Memphis, 20 years old, somebody left me tickets to go see Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I said, I don't want to go see a guitar player. They always play too loud. And I was complaining about it. And they said, just go see. And the only reason I decided to go was because Coco Taylor was opening. And I thought, okay, well, I've had a beer, so I guess I better sit here through the first couple of songs of Stevie Ray Vaughan before I try to go home. He opened with Voodoo Child. And every hair on my body stood on end. And as I watched him that night, I obviously, I didn't leave. I watched him play, and I watched him play guitar as if it was not a separate instrument, but it was a piece of his flesh. It was part of his bone. It was his soul. And I sat there crying halfway through the concert when I realized that I wanted to sing like he played, and my voice, my vocal cords are part of my body, but I wasn't treating them like that. I was singing technically, and I was singing well, but I was not singing as if my soul and my life depended upon it. And he is probably one of the strongest professional influences, and it's someone who, I never met him personally, but that moment in that concert, I realized I want to sing like Stevie Ray Vaughan plays. More so than just being a blues influence, it's about the whole package. And those are some of my strongest influences even today.
So you got any other projects coming up other than what we've already talked about?
Nine Toes is the set that I'm writing now, and that's going to be a concept CD that'll be out next year sometime. Great characters on it. I've already written about 5 songs. Nine Toes is a bard, and she has one of her traveling companions is Miranda, who I thought was going to be a tarot reader with only one card, but it turns out she's actually a lady of the evening, and she has cards strategically inked, tattooed all over her body.
Okay. That makes readings interesting, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed.
Close your eyes and point. So if people are interested in getting your music, where would we go to get?
You can look for Mama Gina, MAMAGINA, on iTunes, CD Baby, Amazon.com. I have a website that is www.mamaginamusic.com.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I'm hoping to maybe have you come back when you have the new CD come out, when the Nine Toes CD comes out.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Hang on to your toes until then.
Yeah, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to The Way of the Taibhsear on International Pagan Radio, where it's all pagan all the time. This has been episode 6 with my special guest, Mama Gina. You can learn more about her music at mamaginamusic.com. The Way of the Taibhsear is the official podcast of the Order of the Taibhsear. You can learn more about us at taibhsear.com. That's TAIBHSEAR.com. The Way of the Taibhsear is sponsored by Pagan Promotions. Learn more about Pagan Promotions at paganpromotions.com. Until next time, blessings of the ancestors.